So today Jarvis Toyota in Adelaide South have given us the opportunity to review and have a drive of the 300. This is our first look at the 300. This is a GXL one up. A little bit later today, they're going to allow us to have a look and do a comparison with the Sahara model. One of the major changes over the 200, of course, is the engine, where they've gone to the 3.3 litre twin turbo V6 design over the V8. I've had a short drive so far, driven it down through some heavy traffic. Initial impressions, the motor is quite a revvy six-cylinder, as these are a smaller capacity motor. The 10-speed gearbox quickly, very smoothly through the range, and is quite responsive. You will notice the pedal response in this vehicle is a lot better than the standard 200 series. Because the big change is the V6, and the 200 series is very much loved, partly because it's V8, so we'll need to see how the perception is. We certainly know that people are queuing up to buy these, so we expect it'll be a strong seller, of course. That kind of goes without question. But how's it going to compare to the V8 Rumble of a 200? So this is a demonstrator vehicle, and Toyota have fitted out with a few accessories: the bull bar, the roof racks, weather shields on the side. The bull bar is a new design, and the main feature that's really going to dominate designs on the 300 series are the cutouts for the intercooler, so you can get fresh air in there. Apart from that, very similar sort of standard design to the outgoing 200 series bull bar. You've got your fog lights, turn lights. They've done an integrated light bar, which is a very nice feature, and there's also access through here, presumably for a winch on potentially other models. It's an all alloy construction. They've got twin antenna mounts outboard, and there are some holes here where you could either possibly go different style of light bar or 9-inch round cutouts here for front parking sensors. 4 sensors here. I noticed 4 sensors on the back as well. That's a nice upgrade. For your ABS gear and so on. Over in the corner here, all neatly hidden away. Lots of fuses, 2 big fuse boxes. Our steering pump right out the front. Another big battery box at the back there. And in this case, the intake has moved from the left side to the right side of the engine bay. And we have the 6-cylinder power plant for the first time. And this is a hot V design, where it's very popular these days with manufacturers, particularly the high performance diesels and petrol engines as well, bringing the turbochargers, in this case both of them here, into the centre of the V, instead of with other designs where the intake happens in the middle. In this case, the intake happens on the outside. There's obviously a lot of stuff under here for people to digest and the industry to come to grips with. So here, fuel primer. So the fuel pump must be just under there somewhere or other. Lots of hoses, lots of actuators, lots of sensors. It will take the industry some time to come to grips with it all. ECU's tucked just down here. A little bit of cool air can get past it, rather than away in the cabin as the previous version was. See throttle bodies at the back there, or maybe that's an EGR delivery. Looks like an EGR cooler across the back there as well. One of the biggest changes with the 300 is the intercoolers are now under here. You can see them through the grills. There's one on each side, which is the way Toyota are doing things these days. They've got the air-to-water intercoolers on a lot of their high-performance engines. Over in the corner, we've got the start battery under this nice cover. It's a very long, skinny battery, but I've seen other commentators mention that this could easily be reconfigured for a dual battery setup. It's very handy. Typical Toyota, very nice wiring, everything very secure and solid. We have here an accessory already, probably for the bull bar, and some more relays and so on at the front. Yep, some more relays and fuses for various things. There's a little bit of room in here that people will be able to use for fitting things, particularly behind the battery. There seems to be quite a lot of room in the back there where we might be able to tuck things away, such as battery isolators and so on. Let's have a look under the radiator shroud and see what kind of room exists under here. They've obviously put a bull bar on this car already. I'm not sure how that will affect things from a structural point of view down the front, but let's have a look. Okay, a lot of plastic. There's plastic, looks like a plastic sort of moulded crash bar in the front there. Very similar sort of radiator support panel as we have on the 200. Obviously similar sort of construction as well. A lot of these things are quite familiar, these, why the wiring that's run through the channel there. Horn coming out in the bracket's a little bit different, but otherwise a lot of similarities. First impressions, car's built very similarly to the 200, obviously with differences, but the way the plastics are all applied, where the splits happen, the various trims down the side of the car, it's very similar design. So from an aftermarket perspective, and running cabling, etc. to the back, I'd imagine the same kind of tricks we use for the 200 will still apply on the 300. Obviously need to investigate a bit more about what lurks behind these and as to where we can actually get access through into the cabin, so we don't have to run wires externally, but we'll get to that in time. Done their market research and decided that customers like the shape and size, so they've not tried to play with that, they've tried to keep that aspect and evolve it into the next generation. So it's not a throwaway start again like the 100 series was to the 200. This is an evolution of the 200 into the 300 with a lot of very similar features and similar design concepts, design principles. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please click the bell icon and you'll get notified of any further releases of videos that we do, and we have some great ones coming up as well. The 300 design is obviously very similar to the 200 series design. The bonnet lines are still very similar, although slightly sculpted a bit differently. Similar sculpting around the fender area here as well, and then you have these add-on little plastic liners or guards. Big departure is the mirror. It's now side mounted, which is going to make it trickier for aftermarket mirror providers. They've traditionally been mounted in the corner right here, but presumably for visibility reasons they've now dropped them onto the guard, so it will require different mounting from clear view and so on. This is the GXL model, comes with standard 18-inch wheels and Toyota standard Grand Trek tyres, carryover from the 200 series. Moving further down, slightly tinted windows, privacy glass I believe is new for a GXL. Continuing on the design theme, we have an upswept back window, which is a big departure from the 200 series, very much like Prado and Patrol. Skinnier tail lights, very large bumper section, as you can see, right down here, right up to here. Moving around to one of the biggest changes is the new single piece tailgate versus the split tailgate that's been around for a number of years, 200 series, 100 series. Before that, there's been a lot of talk that the single design will obviously place the grab handle in a very high position. If you're a shorter owner, lifting the vehicle with a GVM upgrade or just a standard lift kit is going to make that worse. The higher spec feature models do have the power assisted tailgate, so those vehicles will be okay, but GXL or something like that might be difficult for the shorter user. So inside the vehicle, we can now see one of the very large changes, of course, with the 300 is to move the spare seats under the floor, a la Prado and rest of Toyota's SUV range. This will obviously mean a slight difference in the way drawers are mounted in here, but the overall size is very similar to the 200, so I dare say it's just a case of adaptation and some new wings, and drawer manufacturers will have solutions quite quickly. The high spec models, it may be removing the seats and then bolting in brackets for the drawers to sit upon, but time will tell once they get a hold of it. Interesting to note, side plastic constructions, the way it's clipped in and designed, very similar to the 200. We've not had a chance to have a look and see what's in here, but I can see there's an air conditioning module built into that side. On the left hand side, we've got the familiar power outlet, 220 volt power outlet, another access panel, actually two access panels. Now I have a closer look, as we can see what's going on in here. Nice big storage tub, might be a nice place for a compressor. The standard jack, carryover jack from the 200 series, is now the left hand side. Quite a bit of room around that also. It's a very large grommet, so we'll be able to bring cabling, etc. through and down under the car for Anderson plugs, electric brake control, that kind of thing. I dare say pulling this plastic off, I can feel this box is attached to the trim on the inside, so removing it will give a very large space in behind there. So I'm sure our clever manufacturers will come up with some bracketry and we can use that space for aftermarket accessories. Another great feature, they've carried over the integrated tow bar setup from the 200 to the 300. So the main tow bar assembly is actually pre-built onto the chassis by Toyota, making it a simple case of fitting a tongue of choice and a tow ball of choice, and then the electrics as well. Having this in the vehicle made it possible for Lovells to do the towing upgrades on the 200 series, because the main structure of the tow bar itself is integrated with the chassis. It's a known quantity, it doesn't change, and we know from testing it's incredibly strong. Having a quick look at the roof. The roof rail is very similar to construction to the 200 series. Multiple pieces with the mounting piece here and in the middle and the front. The length looks roughly the same, and it's still got plastic trims as well on there. So I imagine fitting a roof cage, a roof rack will be quite a simple exercise as well. So there'll be a wide variety of roof options in future. An important difference though, there is actually a little shark fin antenna on the back here. So any accessories will need to be either forward mounted or go over the top of that, preferably forward mounted, otherwise it may impede performance of the antenna. The interior is obviously very different. It's picked up a more modern styling, very much on trend these days, the very large central display. I was pleased to note DAB standard on the GXL. I'm a big fan of the DAB audio. We have climate control as well. Obviously very new right through the centre console here. Freshened up, made things a lot nicer, a lot more on trend. Wireless phone charger too. Quite a nice feature on this level of car. One of the styling additions has been to adopt the squarer style of button, exactly the same as used on the Prado, which is good news because we know that there are already a wide range of switches that we can just pop in here and away we go. We don't have to wait for the aftermarket to come up with new designs for switches, for lights and so on. Steering wheel itself, smaller than the 200. Got to say I quite like it. Quite a chunky feel to it, a leather feel. I'm sure it'll be really nice to live with. There seems to be a lot more storage in here as well. A big bin right ahead of the gear shifter here. Probably larger cup holders as well. I certainly noticed that inside here is very large, much larger than the 200s. Oh, there we go. Nifty feature. So yeah, one of the criticisms I guess of the 200 is lack of storage in the console, and Toyota have certainly addressed that. It's nice design too, some nice materials, softer touch plastics and so on. GXL here has some nice suede style of cloth trim on the seats. It's quite a dark interior. The headlining is dark in this particular model as well. I'm sure other models have the lighter interiors. But another observation I made is again just the shape and style of plastics, the way the vehicle goes together, the various segments, is very similar to on the 200. The 300 up on the hoist. First glance, the rear end, similar configuration to the 200, but with some notable changes. Electric park brake is one, simplifies construction around the back end here. Coil, pan, hard rod arrangement is a very similar arrangement. No doubt they're all different lengths and so on, so none of it's carryover. We notice that the coils appear to be like a two-stage coil, offering comfort in the initial stages and then firming up as it gets compressed further. Some more rubber insulation up there, so it might be a bit better noise insulation as well. Sway bar setup is much the same as on the 200, quite similar, though it's got very different mounting links and where it mounts to are different. Single exhaust is sort of down the middle this time and rather than on the outside, and the fuel tank straddles both sides of the car. There's no rear fuel tank above the spare tyre as on the higher capacity 200s. Going forward, very large exhaust here through here. It actually looks like, I've got tape measures, it's 2 3/4 or 3-inch exhaust even. Right through there. There's a very large DPF arrangement up here. That is huge. Then out the front, quite a large differences out here. Similar kind of setup to the 200. Aluminium upright here, you can see it's the bright metal. Is quite a significant departure. The actual layout and construction of the thing is much the same. In terms of lifting it, obviously need to do some experiments with how much caster and camber can be dialed in at certain lifts just straight off the bat. If it's insufficient though, I'm sure the various companies will come out with upper control arm solutions to allow us to correct for bigger lifts when it's required. An evolution rather than a revolution. So this is the Sahara model. It has a conventional sway bar setup compared to on the outgoing 200 which had the KDSS. The KDSS is now gone onto the really high spec models, top spec models. And on the front, I think we'll find the same. Same uprights, same solid sway bar, no KDSS set up here as well. So yeah, the suspension setups will be the same across the various models until we get to the GR model or the ZX Sahara, which has something a little bit different we haven't seen as yet. Same exhaust setup, transfer case. In Sahara this time, we immediately see the difference in the display quality and the display size. Electroluminescent displays here, very nice, very easy, very large, easy to read, lots of good information. Probably won't be able to see in the camera, but the head-up display as well is a nice, useful addition. Big change, I love this. This is a great display. You see in reverse, very clear, very nice front and head, behind as well as ahead, and this is really easy to see. We had a pedestrian walk behind us before and a little symbol came up to say, hey, look out, there's someone behind us. Very easy to navigate. The switch gear for the climate control changes as well with all the auto. Previously there were individual switches for those, and there's now more buttons as you expect on a higher end car. Centre console button layout's the same, but we've got this fake wood grain trim, and under the thing here is the usual fridge you'll find in the higher spec Land Cruisers. Steering wheel's the same, laid out the same, very comfortable, I have to say, I really like it. There's a little bit of wood grain trim in here. Door panel layout, much the same, memory seats, same as on the outgoing Sahara as well. So nice improvement over the GXL interior. Sunroof is open of course as well, so yeah, nice place to be, but love the displays, very nice. Outside the Sahara picks up usual kind of luxury car features, chrome mirrors, sort of chrome accents all around the windows and on the door handles, larger wheels in this particular case as well. The crystal pearl colour does come in 8 colours, different grills for the different ranges as well, culminating with the GR Sport, which gets the large, bold Toyota lettering, the same as we see on these 70 Series 70th anniversary cars. So it's harking back to the Toyota's original roots. Looking in the back of the Sahara, we have the powered tailgate, of course, carrying over. Very nice. Only major difference we see in here from the GXL, we notice there's a big subwoofer in the back here, so that takes up that large empty storage bin that we found earlier. Probably some other tricky changes tucked away in here as well, but otherwise much a similar sort of layout. Seats under here. We have a storage bin. Let's see if we can get the seat to come up. Here we go. So where to from here? Lovells, of course, will be working on a GVM GCM upgrade. Initial investigations carried out so far show that there are really no carryover suspension components. So we start with new front struts, new rear shocks, coils, front and rear. Once we have those, there might be some playing around with spring rates and obviously heights to get the ride right and the heights right. And then we go into serious testing. With the later model cars with stability control, we need to book testing grounds that can do stability control. To prove the GCM, there will be a lot of on-road tow testing with a very large trailer, doing a lot of hill climbing, that kind of thing. Brake testing as well, the ADR testing, 10 crash stops at the higher weighting to prove that the brakes are up to spec. Handbrake testing, which, as we've seen electric handbrake here, should pass that very easily. But a whole barrage of tests that need to have gone through, components that need to be sourced, on-road verifications, and this obviously takes a long time before we can even submit the information through to the government for their approval, which will take a further delay as well. So 300 is still a long way away before a GVM upgrade product can hit the market. Our people are right at work right now, but we can't give any sort of specifics on time. So if you have questions, send them through. We'll answer them the best we can. At this point in time, can't give you a definitive time for when we'll have a product on the market or a price guide. It really will depend upon what we have to do, how long it takes. Big thank you today for Jarvis Toyota, located in Adelaide South, for lending us this vehicle and giving us this unique opportunity to have a walk through before their cars become readily available. Thank you.